Discover new mind and body hacks to thrive as a human today. The Institute for Aliveness is here to teach you all the things you never learned in school. From talking poop, sex, childhood trauma, emotional intelligence, psychedelics, and of course, fasting and food. This is a podcast that changes lives. Join your host, Dr. Andrea Page, as she travels 7 continents to find the most captivating, impactful humans for you.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to welcome you to a new season of the podcast. This season, I bring you some of the most important embodied people in my life. From all over the world, people I've met along my journey, I thought, hey, why not share them with the world?
Well, this episode was with one of my beautiful, dear friends who I wanted to bring into this season because of her brilliance in Chinese medicine and just like the lightness with which she shows up in the world. So join me for this episode with Zoe Nash, where we talk a lot about being real, getting our hands deep into the earth, daily practices inspired by Chinese medicine and just by honesty in life, and how we as humans in this 21st century world can survive and stay balanced. You'll want to listen through to the whole thing. Zoe goes through a moment on the hot seat herself where I push her to the edge, so make sure to tune in. Do a little stretchy stretch, get my spirits up, do some chest tapping. After that, that vulnerable speaking, get a little more alive. Hello, world. I'm here with one of my dear loves, and I mean sisters, but that word feels like so new age cliche, but like absolute loves, where Zoe and I sit down and I think we just like, or maybe it's just me, I just like start crying because I enjoy being with you so much. And yeah, wow, this is such a gift to me and the world. Zoe's a practitioner of Chinese medicine along with massage therapy and many other kind of coaching wellness modalities, and has been in my life for the past several years. And there was a time, right? There was a time in Bali where I think I came to see you once or twice for treatments and cupping and beauty. I remember you told me overactive spleen. I was thinking too much, studying too much. And I wanted to bring both you and the glory that you are and you share and the truth that you live, because you also live a very unconventional lifestyle, as I do, and I think that might be inspiring for some people. And also I wanted to bring the wisdom of Chinese medicine and this very different perspective on how to see the world into this season and into this series. And before I ask you to more or less speak who you are to whomever's listening today, I want to share that I am on the northwestern coast of the Black Sea. And you're just a bit way south of me, down in the south of Greece right now. So we're in the same time zone for once, which is crazy. And I also wanted to say that whenever I was running a detox retreat week and we would have the Chinese medicine lecture, I would ask everyone to literally remove the spectacles that they'd been wearing through which they were looking to view and see the world around them. And those spectacles, which I had more or less put on them and given them, were those of natural healing, natural hygiene, naturopathy, and that perspective of the world. And then as we went into venture into Chinese medicine, I would invite them to literally put on a new pair of spectacles or a new way to see the world, new lenses through which to look, because it is that kind of night and day, totally different viewpoint on what is blue, what is red, what's up, what's down. It's a whole new definition and understanding of how the world works and how we engage with it. So I will ask you, listener, to do that right now and see where we go with Zoe. So welcome.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks for that gorgeous welcome. And you're definitely not the only one that feels that super sweet connection. I also feel that. And And really grateful to be here, and excited to just share from this space. I will briefly introduce myself to all of you out there, listeners. Hi.
Hi.
So my name is Zoe Nash, and I've been living a slightly unconventional life, if you want to put it like that. All of my life, pretty much. I left school young and actually just took myself to massage college and did complementary medicine, sort of, right out the gate, and led me on to do a degree in traditional Chinese medicine. And then I ended up getting a job working for a ridiculously wealthy man in India, and working as a therapist on his yacht off Mumbai for 6 months. And that sort of took me on the high seas for about 6 years or so, and then ended up actually moving to Bali and setting up a little practice there, and sort of started to get connected into the more teaching world and incorporating Chinese medicine into yoga trainings, teaching Chinese medicine philosophy, and into yoga students that would want to understand the theory and the foundations of it as well, to bring that into their practice, which was a lovely branch of bridging those two worlds as well, because yoga's also been a practice of mine since really young, and studied that also all my life, and then started to freelance, and that took me around some of the most exquisite hotels around the world, sort of working and offering all of my modalities on a freelance basis, and then in mainly Asia. And then recently I've just landed into Greece, and I'm actually setting up now a whole wellness immersion program, for like a really bespoke retreat program for the guests at one of the nicest hotels probably in Greece, which is down on the mainland, and incorporating Chinese medicine and mindfulness, detoxing, and really marrying all of the different wisdom, traditions, and techniques, and ways to bring people back into balance, back into their spirit, back into health, into wholeness. That's sort of a bit of a nutshell on my journey thus far.
So brilliant. I'm going to put you out on a limb for a second, or whatever that phrase is. And I want everyone else to kind of put yourself in this position too. Thank you for sharing that, first of all, for this more or less this trajectory of where you've been and what you've done and how you've engaged with the world around you. How I've been opening this series, and I didn't get a chance before that, but I will now, and everyone collectively will all get to go through this mental exercise together of shifting the story that we're telling, because we tend to tell the story of what we do or what we've done. And yet the question that I normally have the guests on this season open with is your hero's journey, and who you are, and what shaped you into who you are, and how you've become you, and the unique ways that you have discovered yourself amongst whatever it is that you're sharing. So will you trace us back to the beginning as a little wee Zoe in the United Kingdom?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. The little wee Zoe was just always, nature was my temple, my my little sanctuary, my playground, and I grew up hunting for slugs and finding them and watching them crawl around my hand and talking to them, and climbing trees and sitting in trees, and just being in nature, and just made myself a vegetarian when I was like 8 years old, and was rhino when I was like probably 8, and sending £2 a month that I was saving up to Africa, and just sort of fully like aware of the bigger picture of like where we are, and really just having that as my focal point in my life. I had like, my room was just full of plants and sort of just like, it was like a mini little jungle growing up, and it was just, there was just this tendency in me to just want to be natural and in nature, and yeah, in that environment, and that was what I knew made me happy and whole. And then sort of moving a little bit on from there, my father, when I was 11, got bowel cancer, and yeah, watching him just sort of slowly, well, really deteriorate, you know, from the condition, and losing weight and losing his power, and he had a colostomy, so then he had you know, lost function of his bowels, and and then eventually sort of witnessing him take his last few weeks of life in a hospice, and yeah, just really from just remembering that little one kind of going, okay, big wake up, you know, of one couple of things, of this precious life, which is you know, we're all sort of mortal beings, and that death is going to come to us all, and that it's really precious and fleeting, and then so that sort of, what is death, and also where's daddy gone, you know, like what's beyond that, and where is he now, and what does this all mean, and being also really tangibly being able to feel like I could connect with his spirit so strongly as well, sort of on the other side. And
how old were you?
I was 11 at the time. So, and then the other question sort of going alongside that one was like, you know, what is health, and what could he have done, or what did he do to, you know, for this disease to have manifested, and what could he have done to prevent it, what could we do? And so there was a sort of double time search happening there, on the sort of more spiritual level of life and death, and the other of the sort of, okay, health and well-being and the body. And yeah, that just took me, first of all, I sort of took more of the spiritual path, and started to study. I was reading books on India and Hinduism, and then Taoism, and that sort of initiated my path into Chinese medicine. And I actually I was having trouble sleeping, and I went to see an acupuncturist, and I remember just him sitting there. I can see him now, and he was sort of in lotus position, and the way he looked at me, I've never been looked at like that far, and you know, thus far in my life, in such way of pure presence. You know, he really was looking at me, my spirit, you know, my heart, my soul, and his demeanor and the way he was holding himself. And I remember just thinking, wow, I want what he's got, like, what's that? Or I'm just really curious. And also the treatment just worked immediately. And so I was then fascinated, one, by acupuncture because of its, you know, effectiveness of being able to just get me to sleep without these, you know, awful nightmares pretty much straight away. And then the second one was just his ability of how he held himself. And so I think that's where my beginning of my yoga practice really initiated from as well, of just, okay, what it is to feel so completely present in your body, and where you are, and then in turn being able to fully be with another human being and have that kind of connection and interaction with someone, which really, it there and then was like, okay, this is like possibly the most important thing, and definitely one of the most fascinating things that I could see was happening in the world, you know. That authentic human connection, and what that is, and how what does it take for someone to be in a place where they can fully arrived there as well, because the world's just recognizing it's so full of people being distracted, and not just that his gaze and the way he was with me was such a rare thing. It's like, why is that, and what's the difference between the way that he was with most people that you interact with? And so yeah, I think that sort of started a big search for me, and yeah, that led me into do my complementary medicine and my massage, and then the Chinese medicine. And then from when I was studying Chinese medicine, I was also practicing yoga, and I knew that I wanted to go to the lands of origin. I wanted to feel the connection to the places, where these traditions have birthed from, and had this, just a traveling spirit in me. You know, I mean, even when I was at school, I traveled around schools and ended up moving around a lot, and I've just got this wandering, curious spirit in me that wants to experience the world, and just have a thirst for that as well. So that was what made me go, okay, when I'm ready, I'm not just going to go and set up a clinic in London. I want to go and see the world. I want to go to China, and then I want to go and work abroad, and so that's what took me, and I think my mission really sort of has continued in a sense of, all right, just really recognizing the magnificence of this life, you know, for a start, of really being able to be like, wow, what it is to be fully human, and to be able to give yourself permission to actually feel that immensity of the interconnectedness of everything. I mean, coming into Chinese medicine as well, like the understanding of Taoism is that, you know, we are the microcosm of the macrocosm, and absolutely everything is interconnected, you know, from the galaxies, the stars, the earth, the waters, all of the elements, and us, our life, our emotions, our, you know, our body, our senses, and really being able to tangibly be in that, you know, and experience it, and to kind of wake up the senses through different practices. I've been dedicating my life to meditation, you know, healthy eating, yoga, you know, energetic techniques, all sorts of stuff, to just continue to awaken this possibility of feeling and being human, and being able to fully be in the world in its, you know, in its great potential, basically. And then from that place, wanting to give that gift to others, you know, and really that's like I guess where all of these, my search in this has also been with a purpose of wanting to serve and being able to be with people in more of a complete way, that can, because I really believe that we can all be whole and healthy and free if we give ourselves the right attitude, the right mindset, the right environment, and understand the conditions in which it is in order for the human body and spirit to thrive, you know. And so much of today's society is against that, and sort of shunning it, or pushing it down, or embarrassed about it, or uncomfortable with it, or, you know what I mean. And it's sort of, my mission is really to allow that to, for people to remember and to feel what it is to be alive again, and not just a machine, which is where so much of, you know, or just rely on pills and external medications. And I mean, I'm sort of going off on a bit of a tangent, but that's definitely my passion, and also feeling, you know, coming back to my start of being, I think, how I've looped into not just focusing on Chinese medicine and that picture, but coming into really having a big focus on creating a whole food, plant-based diet, and encouraging people to eat in that way. And then also, you know, other tools such as meditation and yoga is coming from understanding how my father died of bowel cancer and then how these diseases can manifest. And so wanting to really, from a lifestyle perspective, not just be an acupuncturist that, you know, takes care of ailments and conditions, but kind of coming back to the root and back to the person and their own lifestyle as a preventative way to inform so that these diseases don't begin to manifest in the first place, you know, as well as wanting to be able to, you know, create some kind of way to facilitate, you know, remission and healing and resolve of them as well. So yeah. I've probably gone on enough there.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely relate and bring it home in terms of the times when we get lost and we forget, and like everything you've just mentioned, the philosophy and the theory and the you give to people so important, and yet if it stays in the head, it can go in the other, and the application of it, of embodiment and bringing it into the body and the life. And even beyond a retreat where we go for 1 week or we go for even a month and we go to change our lifestyle, but then we come home and we face the same triggers. And like I, living an unconventional lifestyle as well, I definitely have these triggers. Like super simple example, literally my past 3 days. I landed here in Odessa, my Russian immersion, and I landed on the ground and my Airbnb had canceled, and I was like, all right, well, I don't have a place to stay. Okay, that might be irking, since I was really looking forward to having one place to stay in for 3 weeks straight. And now I've been in 3 different hotels the past 3 nights, and it's like classic me of the hustling, running around, not wanting to just pick a place and commit and go with it regardless of how bad it is or how perfect something else could be, but rather like continuing to put myself through discomfort or inconvenience or whatever in the hopes of the dangling golden perfect thing that I might be able to get if I just hold out long enough, and in a way really abandon my healthy of living, of like grounding and taking care of myself. And so yeah, I don't know if there's anything recently for you that's come up where you've been like, right, so all this philosophy is just philosophy, and the reality of life as a human today, even as a practitioner and a teacher, is that we forget to apply it, or there are times where we must remember.
Yeah, for sure. Let me have a little think. What's come up recently?
Or just what's coming to you now?
Well, yeah, nothing too crazy. I mean, of course, there's always moments of that, you know, like in the life. There's definitely, and that's, I think, the beauty of being able to see things for what they are as well. And yeah, you know, I mean, I don't think I'm too much of a perfectionist. I don't think that's one of my things. I think I say that, but I'm pretty good at letting things be. Just learning to accept and be with. Yeah, to get used to what is as well is definitely. I mean, I'm trying to think of something, but it's not coming to me right now, to be honest with you. But I mean, when I got here, I don't know, Andy. I'm a bit stuck on that one, actually, to be honest with you.
It's okay. Yeah. If anything comes, share it as it comes.
Yeah.
But since it sounds like you have a lot of balance in your life, and that you might not get stuck in these places or these patterns or trip ups, like.
Yeah, no, it definitely happens for sure. But recently, no,
Okay, good. So then my follow-up question is, what are your practices to keep yourself in a place of not tripping up? Like super tangible.
Well, you know what? I always look at everything from a greater perspective, and always look at things from both sides. Like, so whatever happens to me, I mean, to be honest with you, there is something, it's a bit personal, but even like today, for example,
we got the juice, people. Go on.
At the weekend, I met someone, and I met someone, and a man, and we had a weekend together, and it was lovely. But then come Monday, of course, I've got to tell my ex, and it's triggering for him. So then he gives me a bunch of kind of stuff, basically, and from that place, I could have gone, but this, I'm free, that, all of these things, you didn't want me, and blah blah, you know what I mean? I could have gone into the whole story and created a whole lot of drama, but I was like, you know what, Zoe, of course he's hurting right now, and I totally honor that, and I would be too. And so I just let him say what he needed to say, even if it wasn't particularly nice, and just kind of let it go past me and go, you know what, it's okay, because I know in myself that I was good with my choice, and it is okay. And of course, I understand that he's hurting as well, and he has a right to feel pissed off and whatever, And so I guess there was that, and me kind of being like, you know what, I could have gone into a whole drama. I could have gone into a big kind of self-doubt thing as well, of going, oh God, maybe I've made a mistake, and maybe it was too soon, or maybe it shouldn't have been this guy, or maybe I could have done it better or different, or And actually, like, in the end, I trust that this was meant to happen, for both of us as well, to be able to fully move on as well. And and for me, in just my own life and who I'm meeting and my own choices, and for him to be able to, I feel like on the bigger picture for us, it's going to be a blessing as well. And on the other side of that, I feel like for me to be able to kind of, how I get through these things is to be able to step aside and have compassion for the other person, even if he is yelling and things and saying not very nice things. It's like, I still care, and actually I know that's coming from a place of hurt, and so I'm not going to take it personally, and I really, that is definitely something I live by. And then being able to take all of the different perspectives and understand them for what they are, and then be able to come back into my own decisions and truth, and be able to really be with that and not get swayed or sort of going into a spiral of self-doubt or judgment, or someone else projecting that onto me, which is not mine. So I think being able to scan out bigger picture, see both sides always. And I've done that since I was a kid. I always remember being able to be like, hey, but if you were on the other end of that, or like, but I'm sure that they actually, you know what I mean? Just, that's always the thing that's got me through life, is being able to just not take things personally and be able to see things from many different angles always. So even when it's painful and it sucks and it is somewhat personal, so and that's really served me well. And I think it generally keeps my relationships really good. And sometimes things do get gnarly, of course they do, people get hurt and angry and whatever, but in the end, if you hold that place of being able to stay and not be reactive, once the emotions simmer down, the relationship can resolve itself again, without having to. Otherwise, if you start coming in and sort of reacting to that, then yeah, things do get difficult and challenging and not so nice. So yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I want to say a few things. Like I completely acknowledge your process, and even your process with that. With before the call, we had talked a little bit about, I think I've said it on the air, but my invitation to everyone on this season to even though we are teachers and we teach so many of these things, to show up as us and personally, even more than as the teacher, and just like totally acknowledging the very real process, because I've been there so many times where it's like, no, everything in my life's okay, and then like, wait a minute, oh wait, I'm human, of course there's things, there's grist for the mill, as Ram Dass says, or fodder, things to work with to really kind of dive deep and to just like jam our paws into life and squeeze it up a little bit. And yeah, and the like your invitation to zoom out, I definitely get that with my sun conjunct Mercury in Aquarius. That is the Aquarian modality of the bigger picture perspective. And whereas on a negative interpretation, it can be seen as spiritual bypass or as emotionlessness, really it can truly deeply be one of, I think, I mean, I'm super biased, but I think one of the best answers to see things impartially and to have it as a gateway to compassion, to understand what the other person might be experiencing or how they might be perceiving something or situation, especially one in which you're involved in, and your emotions would tend to blind you from that ability to see the bigger picture. And so I totally get that. And then it links right into the teachings of, if it's the 4 agreements, don't take things personally, or if it's Muji, it's don't take things personally, or if it's the pattern app, it's not personal, it's a pattern, right? It's just like the ultimate reminder.
Right there, for sure. And I think that's the thing, you know, it's like, in the end, none of it really is. It's all everybody's story. And of course you're involved, but that's only a fragment, you know, and how much you choose, or I choose, or any of us, to really start to kind of spiral into that is our choice in the end. So
How's that feel?
Yeah, it feels it just feels much more, it just feels easier. You know.
Yeah.
No, it just feels like it's like, yeah, of course, when you can, it's like, it's not all about you, and and to have life continuously determining how you are because of the way that someone says that, you know, you should or you shouldn't, or their opinion or whatever. It's like, then you're just going to be on rebound continuously. So you know, just not to let life affect you in that way. And of course people are going to have their opinions, and I think that's the thing, is like, okay, if you're noticing that that's coming up a lot, you know, then also it's important to look at what you're putting out too, right? I mean, one of my things is to really, I think it comes from witnessing it as a child, you know, this growing up in England, this sort of quite a culture of judging and just generally complaining and, you know, It just never really inspired me, and I always kind of was like, And so I made it a practice, a conscious practice, not to be judgmental, you know, and I guess that's coming back again to this zoom out. It's like, okay, if you're judging something, then you're only seeing a little portion of it from your little perspective, from the particular glasses that you're wearing, or from your, you know. And so I've always consciously gone, no, it's being to be judgmental is to be, you know, to be closed-minded. And I want to be, I've always wanted to see the world and be open-minded and learn and be able to see things differently and to be able to change my perspective as well. And so I think from working on that and having that now is just a natural way that I am, as well, it serves me in a sense of feeling not so judged by others too, because that's not in my field of consciousness, so it doesn't. I feel like it doesn't affect me so much as well. So there's a freedom there, Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, like, I find judgment to be something that people try to escape but can't. It's similar to the ego in that way, because judgment's a tool of the ego, of course. It's how the ego survives and understands its place in the world. And like, the ego is indeed a tool, and just like any other tool, it should be sharpened and used only as necessary, not just wielded all over the place.
Yeah.
And the same with judgment. I mean, we have viveka, right? One of the yogic practices, which is discretion, knowing either what's worth your time and what's not, knowing what's quality and what's not. And those might seem like judgments if they're distributed with a tint of malice, but when they're done in a compassionate, educated way, like, this isn't quality, because I understand that the people of this region of the earth, or whatever it might be, haven't been exposed to higher quality. So to them, this is actually really good. And there's nothing right or wrong about that. It's like when there's judgment without determination of good or bad or right or wrong. It's like almost duality list judgment in a way. Then that I find to be much more productive in the long run for our own, for kind of governing and churning up our own compassion. And then from there, being able to interact in the world in a much deeper way.
Absolutely, Andy. Yeah, no, that's super true. I mean, of course, it's going to be there. It's an essential part of life to be able to judge. How to be, but on a personal level, yeah, exactly. There's a time and a place for it and a way to practice it, which is which can serve you or not, basically. Yeah.
And so let us take off these glasses and put on the glasses now of Chinese medicine. And I'm going to ask, if you'll kind of just give us a little like hello into this other alternative way of seeing the world, that if we zoom out into a big picture lens beyond how we see the world in our current worldview, whether that's a worldview of our body or a worldview of physics or a worldview of allopathic medicine or anything in between, what is this other worldview of yin and yang and heaven, earth, and man, and yin and yang?
Well, Chinese medicine, Taoism, really has its roots in shamanism and really understanding that we are just one absolutely interconnected, force. There is everything is just energy in the end, everything comes down to that. And it's just energy changing form, which creates the physical world. And so absolutely everything is connected, all of the elements, metal, earth, fire, water, wood, it's all part of the same system. They all need each other. They all generate each other. They all transform into each other. And that's the same, with us as well. And that's really that beauty of understanding the continuum of life, death, and rebirth as well. It's like it's all just changing form in the end. And I think that's a really powerful understanding as well to live by. And, from a sense of, how we are with our bodies, how we are with, our lives, and also with the earth, and if that's the thing of like, if we're constantly, I think that's almost the mentality of today of sort of not wanting to talk about death and thinking that, a lot of people think that after you die, then they've lost their faith and people just, you just die and that's it, you're gone. And it's like, well, that's the mentality. Then also that's the mentality of this earth. And so they think that like this rubbish that we're accumulating and this just that you use something and then it just disappears. It's like, no, it has to go somewhere. It's got to be recycled. It's got to be, it doesn't just disappear.
Yeah.
And
Julia Butterfly Hill, when you throw
yeah,
something away, where is away? There is no
exactly.
away.
There isn't. And so, and that's really that's the basis of Chinese medicine, is understanding that continuous cycle and interconnected of everything, and how we are, absolutely a part of that as well. We're not separate from nature, we're a part of it. And if we separate ourselves, we try to, of course, there's going to be malfunction. Our cells are not going to know how to work. There's going to be disharmony within our, with our psyche, our body, because we're disconnecting ourselves from the source of life, and so we're going to suffer. It's like, and so it's
this
really like
perfect,
that coming back into nature, coming back into the elements, through seasonal, local eating, through getting time in nature with the trees, oxygenating your system, getting sunshine, all of these just natural components that give us energy, connecting with the heavens, the stars, connecting with the earth, that actually we really don't need much more than that. And bringing that home again and again and again, and sort of almost acupuncture in a sense is like the last resort in this whole system. It's like, really, it's meditation, it's qigong, it's like, you know what I mean, it's astrology, it's understanding everything, and then it's diet, and then it's herbs, and then it's acupuncture in the end. It's like, whereas now people just want to go for an acupuncture treatment before they're fixing their diet or their mindset or spending time in nature, and that's sort of beyond the philosophy of it, really. And the other part of Chinese medicine, which is really crucial, is that of spirit, and how crucial that is to keep that alive in the human, in the body as well. And they're together, and the spirit allows the body to thrive, and that's really what enables us to be fully healthy and functioning in this physical world as well. And we have to nurture that in different ways, through artistic pursuits and through prayer and ritual, and that piece as well can get lost these days. So really sort of bringing in an understanding of what it is to be whole and happy and healthy is that's the sort of foundation of Chinese medicine, I feel.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you put in a perfect plug there and talking about the cycles and our disconnection from the cycle of life that leads to the disease, whether it's disease of the mind or disease of the heart or disease of the body. And that is very much a lot of what my podcast with B was about. And that'll either air before or after your episode, I have to remember. But so definitely everyone listen to that one, because it goes into much deeper on the cycles, and it goes into environmentalism and his trash mahal and all of these other magical things. That was a beautiful episode. And so as for what you said, which I love and definitely echoes back to one of the first episodes on this season with the herbalist Lucy Bradley, is like the intervention of the practitioner should be last, right? And you said that in the vein of acupuncture, like it's acupuncture is a last resort. And yet people these days in our convenience culture, and our very, very irresponsible people not willing to take accountability or do the hard work, convenience-based culture, they want to just go for acupuncture and 1, 2, 3, get it right. And yet the longer, more stable and more long-lasting process is one in which we start to seriously inquire and question in the deeper meaning of our life. Why am I here? How am I living? How am I choosing to show up rather than turning on autopilot and just up and going through the motions every day? Like, where in my life is there opportunity for me to show up more fully and more intentionally? And so whether you express that through saying spirit, how can I have rituals, and like, how can I make a new moon intention crazy as it seems, if nothing else, it allows me to set goals. Like put the millennial Tony Robbins based mental perception of the world in your spiritual life. Sure, I don't give a shit. Allow the moon cycles to determine your goal setting. Why not? Just experiment, see what happens. What do you have to lose? Our ancestors did it for generations, millennia before we were here. And
I know,
so
exactly.
when you say shamanism,
exactly. No, they did, and this is sort of the beginning of what we call civilization today. But being here on this land, and it's like, wow, the buildings, the architecture, the marble that these guys have been using, and it's like these guys didn't push this marble up hills and use like brute force. They use like the earth's intelligence and understanding. Like there's a place that you can go up on the hill that you can actually turn your car off and turn it up to face up the hill, and it will just roll up the hill. Like there's the like the intelligence of them understanding the earth's electromagnetic frequency and the sort of the power of just these different places, and they can actually use that to enable them and create these things that actually are way beyond our comprehension today, because we're trying to do everything by brute force almost, as well.
I mean, it's as simple as listening. Which is the same thing we were talking about before about changing perspective or zooming out. That's a form of listening, because that's the doorway to compassion. And listening is just that it is compassion for everything that is, whether it's the shape of the hill, the state of the earth, or the upsetness of your ex-boyfriend,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, as we're trapped inside of ourselves and taking things personally, disconnected from these cycles and not showing up or living every day with a greater intention or purpose or focus or direction or desire even, then that's when we're lost, and that's when we're deaf to life with its depth. We're deaf to the depth. And that's when dis-ease will come up. And then from there, of course, when we're so much in the fog of it all, we don't have the mindfulness required. And yet, if we put aside time and space to set those ritual intentions on the new moon or full moon or whatever it might be, that's requiring us to heighten our attention or our meditative state. And this is really what we do in the fasting retreats. And Zoe, I know that you fasted before, so you know about fasting, but like just the simple ability to change one thing, which is so habitual and autopilot, aka eating, and then all of a sudden your intention floods into every other part of your life, because you're not doing that one normal habitual thing that you always do. And so it's one of the greatest teachers of quote unquote meditation, because all meditation is heightened awareness. It's that zoomed out perspective. It's not taking anything personally.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So where else do we see Chinese medicine philosophy and theory in like a way that the modern man could really take a bite off of it and wrestle with it?
Well, I think, I mean, definitely the eating seasonal local foods is a really good thing about that medicine, and really, because really starting to get in touch with, and I'm also seeing that, here in Greece, which as well is, it's obviously where the Hippocrates sort of came from, and that was almost, they had a whole system of acupuncture, and that was sort of the change from almost shamanism and kind of that sort of train of thought. So there's definitely this sort of lineage here, but I mean, aside from that, but it's just being here, being in Greece, it's so local. Like you eat local food here. You don't like the Greeks are so protective of their fish is not farmed. It's all caught wild. They all drink the olive oil from their olive groves. You can know what's in season, and it's just easy to be here, and it's really nice because it's such an important piece of Chinese medicine. And I think now, in lots of modern cultures, that there's just so much convenience in the shops, and we can absolutely have everything, and it can throw our system way off. If we're eating tropical fruits in the winter, or we're just having food that our system, it's either causing too much cold or too much damp, depending on what our environment is. So really, food is a way to be able to meet the environmental factors so that your body has the best chance to be able to to boost your immune system, so that you can be in harmony and be in sync with that, and not out of balance through whatever you're putting in your body, which is actually creating an ill effect, whether you're cooling your body and you're already cold. And so you want to as much as you can, definitely eating local, and certainly seasonal food as well is definitely, it's a big key.
And this
is that a lot of people can do. It's also just like we're talking about, it's just bringing that awareness to actually going, okay, actually what is in season? Or when you're at the grocery store, just have a look and, does this come from New Zealand, or does this come from where you actually are? And also think about, the amount of obviously shipping that particular food has had to go through to be able to get there as well. So, I mean, there's a whole reason for it. Many reasons, but go to the local grocer, go to the farmer's market instead.
Farmer's market.
Yeah, definitely. So
yeah, I mean, it's really like I'm getting very big visuals here. I mentioned something before about sticking your paws into the dirt and squeezing and like getting it out in terms of your engagement with your own life. And something that's coming to me here from this conversation is also like literally getting your paws into the dirt. That there's been research shown that if you have dirt under your fingernails, that you are quote unquote less depressed. And the reason for that is because of the soil-based microorganisms. And those organisms are like the OG probiotics. And those probiotics, which don't live in our soil anymore because our soil is so overly modified and pesticide laden, we're losing that from our diet. That's what makes our own internal microbiota or probiotic system devoid. That weakens the immune system and our defenses. It makes our digestive system malfunction. It literally makes us stupider and slower, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like there's so much there and so much to delve into, but it can just be freaking simple. Wherever you are, listener, in the world, wherever you and I are, in Ukraine and in Greece, Zoe, like let's just look up local organic farm near me and go. Don't think twice. Just go. On Saturday, just head over there, check it out, talk to your farmer, even if it's teeny and small. Go smell. We smell so many probiotics as well through the nostrils.
And buy the veggies that are full of dirt, and and don't scrub the hell out of them. Just eat them, exactly. Wash them a little bit maybe, but you don't have to like scrub them and get rid of all of that, because that's all goodness. Exactly. It's all your B vitamins and your microbiomes and goodness. So I think that's really important point. There's so much to say in regards as well. Chinese medicine. I mean, it's like pick a topic as well, but I think the thing about Chinese medicine is that it's really is about being able to find that moderation with everything. It's not. Chinese medicine doesn't kind of almost say that anything is bad. I mean, there's even like we can prescribe even alcohol, for example, but it's like it's just a little bit, and it's just like high potency if someone's got a real cold in their intestines or something, and like that actually. So I'm not saying that they like alcohol is a good thing or blah blah blah, like not the way that we drink it, certainly not, but what it is that everything is a medicine. Like food is medicine, but it's just how you eat it, and it's how you consume it and when you consume it, and that's the difference. And so really sort of starting to basically not going into anything into excess, never eating more than sort of 3/4 to your full, making sure you stay upright after you've eaten, taking a walk, allow the body to digest. Don't just lie down, you get food stagnation. Focus on your food, be mindful, eat it with awareness. Don't sit in front of the computer or read a book or look beyond your iPhone. Actually enjoy your food, smell your food. I mean, cook your food. That's the process. Even when you go to the farmer's market, and then from there, seeing the whole vegetables, then bringing them home, having cooking them, getting those smells happening, getting the digestive system working already there, then sitting down to eating. Almost the digestive system sort of started to activate you when you were buying the foods. That's more like a wholesome Chinese medicine way of living, rather than just going to the convenience store and ripping something out of plastic and stuffing it down where you're walking. It's not just what you eat, it's how you eat, really, is sort of what is a crucial piece of that, which can lead to either, radiant health or ill health. And just, not to gulp down lots of water or liquids when you're eating, to separate the two.
Not to dilute the stomach juices.
Yeah, exactly. So, and not to have cold water. Chinese medicine really, the body likes warm water, especially, ideally keeping ice out, because that can put out the digestive fires. And so if you can, drinking warm water is seen to be much, much more healthful for the body. So, or just at least temperature. There's lots to say, but that's my little tidbit.
Your little tidbits. And in terms of like the hero's story and the deeper engagement with life and being able to in one way swim upstream and be, quote unquote, as we said at the beginning, unconventional, but in the other way just live a truth when the rest of society feels like it's living a lie. I know that's a theme that I kind of brought up in our own personal catch up before the recording, that I can't consent to that lie, and I can't encourage it, and I can't live with it, and that sometimes feels like a challenge for me, because it feels like I can't settle anywhere. Because even just, I don't know if it was this morning, I was looking up the verb to settle. Like, what does that mean to settle? And I feel like I'm someone who never settles, and I'm always on the road, so that's very much literal. I'm always someone who's very picky, for example, with men, because I don't settle. And it's like, what does Taoism teach us about the way, the flow, and not settling? Is there any advice there?
Well, I mean, I think that there is that. It's really, the teaching is keeping things really simple, and being, not needing much. And maybe it is actually moving and just having a small heart, but certainly being in sort of civilization and being in a city and being sort of in a house and living outside of that is deemed as being not a Taoist way of living. That for sure. It's not a. It's not a. It's exhausting for the human spirit to be constantly exposed to advertisements and all of the stimulation, and then to be sort of living an overly affluent life as well. So things, the view is to be with nature, to be humble, and so there is that of being, the wandering spirit as well, of not accumulating too much. Obviously you can't if you're continuously moving around. Almost that when you settle, you start to sort of overly start to accumulate, which can be. But at the same stage as well, there is that piece of being in nature, and then and working with that land as well, and being that whole interconnectedness of that space and area. I think, like anything, there's always two sides. There's always two different ways. There's more than one. But
and there's a middle ground to be found, perhaps.
Sure, and maybe it will change. That's the thing as well. it's like being fluid with, maybe there's a time when we're traveling and that feels like that's all there is, and then there's a time when we're settling and we can't imagine ever being on the road, and then something happens and we're on the road, and there's a continuous flux of, you know, of change of circumstance and what is real in that moment in time in life as well. So yeah.
And anything else that you kind of like, what's your favorite Taoist almost philosophy, if we may, that you pull from regularly?
Well, it would definitely be the I Ching for sure. That's just, you know,
Do share.
Well, it's one of, it's sort of the original, the book of the way, written by Lao Tzu, and it's a book, but it's just many different quotes on how to live. And with what came with that was, it was sort of like the beginning of astrology in a sense, and it was a way to actually predict the future, and now, it's just got some really incredible, meaningful quotes that you can really come back into this life as well, because they're just real. And for example, one is, a wheel has 30 spokes, but it's the center of the wheel which is what matters. Or a clay bowl has an empty space in the middle, but it's within that space that the bowl is useful. A house has 4 walls, but it's actually the space in the middle where the house is useful. And so within anything, it's actually the emptiness within it which is the useful. And so it's really being able to see that within all of this, it's the empty spaces actually which is the importance. And so that's with silence as well, of being able to create that silence, and from that place the sound can come, and from that space thoughts can come, from that space inspiration and creativity, and being able to actually give space in this life, you know, in your life, and in your thought processes, in your sort of feng shui of how you situate your house, being able to create some space, because it's actually, and so I think that's a really beautiful, helpful quote for today as well. And I mean, there's many, but I often go to that, and it gives me a nugget to work from, and you can really chew them over. I mean, it's definitely a book for a lifetime. Been translated so many times by all sorts of people, so there's gazillions of copies out there now, but it's a worthy one to get in tune with. Listeners, if you haven't already, I would go and check that out for sure.
Can we kind of give the listeners some homework from that?
So
even though we said we wouldn't be teachers. I'll give myself some homework. I'll do it.
Well, I think the thing is to get the book, or a copy of the book of any kind, and open up and find a quote that resonates with you, or that you find challenging, or that you don't quite understand, and actually just sit with that one quote for a week. Maybe write it out and put it somewhere so that you can actually see it, and then just slowly start to see how that integrates and is can correspond to your day and your life and how you view the world as well. And so you can actually be like, okay. And it really gives you that ability to see the bigger picture and the kind of the wisdom, the unseen wisdom. That's really what it speaks to, which is really what Taoism is all about, that subtlety. And that's, where a lot of new understanding and insights can definitely stem from. So it's, I would say do that. And
even for me practically, like I'm looking right now and I like to make a mess. Like, it's a part of my archetype to like allow things to explode, and that quality of destruction and chaos and disarray. And yet I know very much so in the ethos of feng shui and Taoism that having a clean, tidy, orderly space will reflect in the mind. And so I think the homework for me might be to just tidy up a bit. And
that's a good place to start for anybody before you do any kind of work. Is always tidy your desk, tidy your house, whatever it is, get rid of some stuff you don't need to anymore. It really can, it gives you psychic space, it can transform your world quite dramatically. Yeah, I highly recommend that.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anything else that you feel like you want to share?
No, that feels really good. I've enjoyed talking to you, Andy. Thanks. Yeah.
Is there
for listening. And I hope you all got some good stuff out of this, and I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of your podcasts as well.
Yes. What do you think? How would we summarize this one? What do you feel like we've plucked out of the cosmic spectrum that's wanted to be expressed through us today?
The importance of understanding interconnectedness, well-being, not taking things personally, way for freedom, and being able to keep yourself centered in this crazy world. Eating seasonal local food and going to farmers markets and eating mindfully and consciously, as well as what you're eating for well-being.
Yes. Good stuff. And Zoe, where can people find out more about you, or perhaps even reach out to you on their own if they feel called to have a one-on-one?
I'd love to hear from any of you. A couple of options. I have a Facebook group called Tao and the Art of Wellness, which you love to see you all there, which is a private group, and so I'm posting and sometimes doing some sort of live masterclasses. I did one on all of the elements, Chinese medicine. Sometimes I post about meditation or food or just poems. All sorts of stuff comes up there. So it's a general goodness. And I also have a website, which is www.zoenash.com, and you can see me and see if you wanted to even work with me one-on-one or see what I'm doing.
And that's ZOENASH.com.
ZOENASH exactly.com. Yeah. So
got it. The Z.
Yeah. So those two things are perfect.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And any final kind of love, either for me or for the group, or like what's the memory?
Love, continuous, overflowing, endless love for you. And yeah, really, I've always fully respected and loved the work that you do and what you put forth, and your inspiration to be in the world and share. And really, it's great to see what you're doing and to be a part of it again.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And I hope to hear from you all on my page or from some way. So, thanks.
And thank you, Zoe, for being with me in this space, on the hot seat and in that honest place, and just holding down the fort.
Bearing my love life to the world.
Yes. I mean, that's what it's about, right? That's the fucking liberation. Anything else is like, who do we think we are? And for anyone else who's a teacher, I hope that this really, speaks to you, because it's like, really, who do we think we are? Like, we're all just fucking human. And the moment that we can touch that humanity and return to that sense of honesty is the moment that we start winning. So Yes. Thank you for being honest with me, sister. All right. Well, peace out, everyone.
Yeah. Peace out. Lots of love.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
How was listening to that for you? If you learned from or were moved by the episode, pay it forward. Go to Apple now and leave a 5-star review so others can benefit. Join the Institute for Aliveness for a 1-week transformational fasting experience. Consider getting an astrology reading from Andy, or enroll in the 1-year health coach certification course. Whatever you do, don't let this learning pass you by. Do something now to impact your lifestyle for good.
Here we are.